Hello guys and welcome back to the BWN Podcast. Today is episode 13 and we have a very special guest today who is very relevant to the 2025 slate. That's going to be oncoming very, very soon. It's Mr. Jacob Varley. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Matthew. I'm doing very good.
Good. So as per usual guys, how are you all feeling today in terms of topics and that sort of thing? We're barreling now towards the end of our first season of this new podcast format. If there's any last minute topics, well really actually we've decided it for the rest of the season now, so if there's any topics that you guys would like us to discuss in season 2 and any particular guests, primarily around the network culture and people who you're aware of, do let us know, because we are currently in development on season 2, which will come back some point in 2025 and will conclude within 2025, so there will be another season of this pod this year. But now it's time for the last 3 episodes. It's necessary to say now that we will be recording the next 2 back to back, so there will be basically no change, but I'll be recording episode 13 and 14 today, hence why kind of the shorter episode count kind of mirroring in line with some of the mid-season currently. But no, without further ado, let's get right into it. So first of all, I know that when we first sort of talked about collaborating and kind of working with each other on a couple of different things, you've obviously got a fair bit of background in YouTube-based stuff until now. So first of all, would you like to tell the audience, because I think at this point there's I think other than socials, I don't think anyone's actually seeing you on the network in the flesh at this point.
Really?
So it's is there any would you like to introduce yourself basically, and what's your big platform, the legendary comical?
Well, my background, I've done so much stuff. Let me begin at the beginning. So at the age of 9, me and my friend Alex made this Lego stop motion. It was very cool. I think what happened was a Lego car crash. I think it was about 2 seconds long, but I was very pleased with this video. And ever since then, I've continued making stop motions. I did Lego stop motion for many, many years until I was about 14, I think. Mm-hmm. And that's the point that I decided I was like, enough with this Lego nonsense. I want to make my own thing. So what I did is, my friend had recently showed me, the Kit Kat wrapper from a Kit Kat bar. She'd show me that you can, if you rip it, like, you can turn it into a little foil man. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I was like, I'll make a stop motion with this little foil man. So I made the stop motion. It took me a year to make in total. I think it was like every other day after school, I would come home and I'd be like, do a little bit. And it was very tedious and annoying. And I was like, why did I do this? But after a year, I finally finished it. I put it on YouTube on my channel, which was called Comical. And I left it there. I left it for about 2 years. And nothing happened. I think it got 500 views in total over the course of 2 years. And then one day, all of a sudden, it just went whoosh, and it was getting like 10,000 views a day, and it was like crazy. And then it kind of just went up and up and up. And I think now it sits at 2.8 million views. And I've got 10,000 subscribers on my channel. So,
and you said that most of it was off the back of that, you said?
Or pretty much all of it. I have 83 videos on my channel as of now, I think. And most of the time, what happens, because if I upload another video, I actually get unsubscribes. I get like -2 subscribers per video. Because most the other videos I make are like live action, like comedy skits. Oh, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. And people are like, what's this? I subscribe for foil. You give me this? So it's kind of sad. But I don't care. So I just make what I want to make. And so far, people don't really like it. But they like that one video, and that's enough. So.
Well, the irony is that you came from Lego animation, and the second you thought you were out, I pulled you back in, and you've somehow ended up doing it again.
Yeah.
So we can't talk massively extensivly about it, but a fair few details of it have come out at this point. There are a couple of things. It kind of looks like a 3-point arc in the sense of our collaboration with each other in second year here at uni. We've got 3 things. The first of which has happened, and that was when you had that day of experience where we talked about it a lot with Jaron when he was on. But it was when you directed that sort of that TV feature webcon. So there was that. That was the kind of the first time we worked together, that sort of thing, and that came out in a pretty half decent edit in the end. This will, of course, be the second, whereas I know you've been quite keen to get on here at a certain point.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, our third and biggest one will be one of the 10 major projects or 10 major releases this year, which I can now confirm is actually well into post-production at this point. It is. It's not. Well, VFX hasn't fully started on it yet, but post-production has started. Our lovely Philip in the network is currently the editor who's been tapped to take it on, and it is Green Hill Zone. So I think that is the first time I'm saying that, because I've said on socials that you're tied to some animated project this year, but which I haven't said. It's this one. It was meant to be another one for the longest time, and then this is where it eventually ended up settling. So it's Green Hill Zone. How did you find that for the 2-day shoot that it was?
When I was kind of getting flashbacks to my stop motion days. I was like, but good flashbacks, of course.
Mm.
No, it was very fun. It was good. I did actually learn a little bit from it, different techniques, because the thing about it is we had to do it in such a short space of time compared to what I was used to.
Yeah.
So I had to learn I had to figure out how to kind of make the most of the time we had with the animation. But also, I don't know anything about Sonic either. So apart from he's a hedgehog and he runs fast, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. So it was, but it was fun. I liked it. And working in a bigger team as well. I've only ever made like stop motions by myself. So working with you and Luke and stuff, that was quite cool. Getting feedback real time.
Because Luke is a very prominent person in 2025's content. He's DP, I can say now. Yeah, he's, I believe, DP on now every single all 3 animated projects this year. That's kind of been his last kind of swan song and hurrah, where he's told me that he's not. I think he's open to maybe a thing or two in the future, but overall, like, he's now drifting away from animation. This was his big year of animation, and it will be through May, September, and Christmas, which are that much I know right now, as of now, with the slate as it stands. And he wants to go back to live action after this, but no, it's, I think all around it was a nice, fun experience. It was a pretty solid, I would say. I don't think anything really went off the rails. I think it was a pretty solid mid-November shoot. And expect it on your way on the network relatively soon. Other than that, though, with your sort of general background in content and what we've got on the way with Green Hill Zone, we now can move forward to what it is we're really going to be talking about today, and really get into the thick of what this podcast is, and what our second collaboration will be, and what it is we'll be discussing. So, in today's case, I know that this ties to Jaron quite a bit, but he threw this out to me and he said, I think Jacob would be the ideal person to handle this, and I knew with Sonic on the way, and it's now not the furthest time away now, because it's what it'll be the 4th, so will be April when this comes out. I knew at the time with that Sonic was coming on the way. It wasn't a million miles away. What we're talking, like 4 or 5 months. So I knew I had to have you on soon. I knew I wanted you on this year, so now was the right time. But pretty recent after him, because I knew this topic would work with somebody, and I think this would be a good way to go. First of all, because again we're going to very much switch gears, and this is going to be a relatively, I'd say, rather kind of serious discussion, really, or as lighthearted as we can make
serious.
It. How,
my middle name.
With this in particular, which we're going to be talking about religion today, I know that at least all I can assume from afar is that you and Jaron spend a fair amount of time together. I'd say is that would you say that?
Yeah.
And I know that the both of you is I would say would you say you sort of would you say you're both considerably passionate about faith? Because that's what it would seem like to me, I would say.
Yes, I would.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I think a way into this in a more casual sense is maybe you can talk about kind of steering around details of who was involved, like crew wise. But talk us a bit about the second year documentary that you did, which the audience won't know, but it's just for context of the story. That potentially a way in here for a media into this. So what was your kind of passion about doing a documentary? Because tell them what it is exactly that you did actually.
For this year, was it this year? Last year.
It'll be last year.
For our course, we had to make this documentary, and I was a new guy, so I'm in second year now. I moved straight into second year from a different university, so I was already the new guy, and we had this test to make a documentary in these teams and stuff. And then I said, one topic we could do is my church. And the team I was in was like, oh yeah, it's a great idea. So we all went off down to the Lake District, to my church. And yeah, I was kind of like, please, church guys, don't do anything really weird. I'm trying to be cool. I'm the new guy. I'm trying to show myself to be a cool guy. And then we go to my really weird church. And then the whole time, I think they were kind of freaked out the whole time.
But they're kind of a bit like off-put by the whole documentary process.
The documentary process and just the whole church is kind of weird, I think. But we got the documentary done anyway. And I think it was a good learning experience for everyone. I think had to make a documentary, and I think they learned something about it, the church. And so we made the documentary. I'd like to ask you, Matthew, what did you think of the documentary when you saw it?
I thought it was I thought there was some very, I mean, we're all a student level, but I thought, like, it just as a piece in itself, I thought there were some very redeeming elements about it, very much like in the context of just a documentary in general. There was moments. I think there was I can't exactly remember who was like the kind of directing force of it, but if you throw into just the group in general,
kind of me.
Was it you? Would you say?
No, it was kind of all of us.
Yeah. It's it's moments like the despite the sound, obviously, which couldn't be helped in that there was a baptism scene at a lake, and that was very, very good. I
think?
That was it's kind of
like that.
That's almost kind of what a documentary is supposed to be. You're kind of capturing things you wouldn't see in the everyday in its natural habitat.
That was the thing. I think I didn't think it was that good in the end, because I thought it was kind of dull, kind of boring. Apart from the baptism scene, that was because it was purely chance that they were going to be doing a baptism that day. We like on the week that we were going there. They hardly ever do baptisms. But
did you know that going in, or were you were told when you got there?
I didn't know that going in, but we'd already planned it, and then it turned out they were doing it. So that's really cool. But in the end, documentary on the whole, I think it was a bit messy. I'm not sure we really knew what we were doing. But I don't think we found a clear through line. But anyway, we showed the documentary to the group. Everybody watched it, and now everybody knows me as the Christian guy, I think, which for better or for worse.
But it was ambitious, and I respect that, at least, because it was a pretty hefty trek up there, and I do respect that. It was you really went out there, and that's something that even I'm finding difficult on a major scale to do. Whereas I do like to travel for shoots now, but it's but on a scale of that kind, where it's a very structured, very thought out documentary, where at least in its on surface level, I know you said like creatively, maybe in terms of structure, you didn't exactly know what you were going for, but there was thought there going in. It is a big ordeal, especially with the amount of uni equipment that you would have brought.
Oh yeah,
it was a pretty big ordeal. So that's no, I definitely respect that the effort in that way, and I think it's definitely a learning curve that's probably worth at least cherishing in some way, I'd imagine, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean the whole production, it was all kind of painful. Like, I remember it was funny, we got there on the first day, and everyone got out, and they were like, yes, we're in the Lake District, yeah, let's make a cool film, oh, it's going to be awesome. And then, second day came around, and I remember I just turned up to everybody else had slept on the second floor of the church, and I turned up, and they were like, this is the worst. Everyone was like, I hate making documentaries. I hate documentaries. But, so, I don't know, how do you find the documentary making thing? I thought it was one of the most quite painful.
Well, look, I'll throw it around in the sense of like it's I'll make it very quick, but I think I've said before that my documentary is going to have an extended cut, and it is one of this year's projects.
I'm looking forward to that extended cut.
I'm very much looking forward to doing it, and I actually at least shooting it. I thoroughly enjoyed shooting it. I think there was 1 or 2 days that were really, really bad.
It looked like you were having a good time filming it.
Yeah, because that stuff happened. That's the thing. That stuff happened. It wasn't that the shoot was bad. Stuff went wrong. But otherwise, that's like, really, honestly, especially the camp sequence towards the end. Great. Oh, yeah. Which you'll see. Trust me. The most legendary sequence of all time. You'll see in October. Just stay tuned. Yeah. So, yeah. So, as a way in, because, of course, that was a subject matter for you with the documentary, what does it mean to you? Like, talk a bit about the background, and what is the kind of angle of spirituality mean in your life? that in all the ways, and just talk a bit about that.
What does it mean to me? Well, I think it's interesting talking about religion, because obviously religion is a very, very broad kind of word. It's like saying,
if you had to define it, how would you?
If I had to define religion, well, I guess it's kind of belief. It's like it's the belief in something else that isn't just material, I guess, in the world. I guess. I mean, I don't know if that's the technical definition, but that's how it. Because I mean, in the Western world, I think these days, in England, people are very materialistic. They think everything is made of atoms, and that's it. That's all there is in the world. And I guess this is more spiritual I'm talking about. But then, yeah, more spiritual people would think that there's more than just atoms. There's more than, like, not everything can be decoded and understood with science, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a world when everyone's so scientific, and they say, oh, everything has to be, if it's not proved by the scientific theory, then we can't know if it's real. Well, if you're only trying to prove things with the scientific theory, that rules out anything that might somehow be there that can't necessarily be detected with scientific theory, if you see what I mean. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Is this, in terms of spirituality, is have you kind of been on the same path your whole life, or has things deviated? Have you ever had your faith shaken? Have you ever taken I dare say, have you even looked at the bigger picture and seen all different types of faiths that are going on, or has it kind of been one straight path for you? Because I know that it's definitely something we're talking about today, because there's a lot of different angles that various different communities take with this. Yeah,
well, there's kind of two aspects to that. Like, as I was saying religion is a very broad thing. It's like saying, what do you think of solids? Or what do you think of emergency services? There's lots of different types of emergency services,
Mm-hmm.
And there's different. Would you want to be in emergency services? I don't know, because that's like fireman, doctor. You could be any of those. So I think when you say religion, I mean, me personally, I'm not going to speak for Buddhists or Muslims or whatever, because I think that's very different to how I am as a Christian. But as you're saying, has my faith ever been shaken? I would say yes, because I do believe there's a God. But then there's always the question of, like, how do you know the God that you believe in is the right one?
Yeah.
If I'm brought up as a Christian, what are the chances that the way I've been brought up is the correct way to be brought up? It's quite slim, I would think. Think about all the people in the whole world. What are the chances that the place that you've been brought up with, the people around you, is the right way to see the world?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my faith has been shaken in that way when I've thought, what? There's so much more options than Christianity. Is this the only one? But I have done my own research. I've done quite a bit of research into Christianity. The historical evidence for Jesus' life, and just the worldview that the Bible puts forward, I think, makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I have enough evidence for me personally, to believe it, not just on faith, not just blind faith, but with facts. I think there's facts that back it up.
Yeah.
Which I think is a common misconception, because I think a lot of people think, oh, if you're religious, you just believe. There's science and there's religion. Science is fact-based, and religion is faith-based. But I think that there is facts that can back up your faith.
Yeah. How would you say it in terms of two things? First of all, with everything that you've everything that you believe, with that sort of thing, was there ever kind of a specific moment that kind of ignited your faith, either reignited it in a time of hardship, or kind of really established how you feel about it in your adult life? And now going into the adult world, the other part of this question would be that there's such division now, particularly in this country, with obviously, exactly what I'm alluding to, with multiculturalism being at its peak right now in this country, and by the month, there's a lot of unrest and anger right now, and with that becomes a lot of different ideas of conflicting faiths and different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know that what you were saying about, I thought it was very interesting what you were saying about the sort of there's how do I know if my God's the right one?
Yeah.
What's your outlook on, after the first part, what's your outlook on sort of seeing two sides to this, or multiple sides to this, and how people treat each other for potentially not believing in the right one. Because to me, from an outside point of view, it would almost seem as if it goes against what your God would probably want if you fight with other people.
Yeah.
So it's what's your take on all of that?
Well, I agree with that. I think the people who go out and don't like someone because they're Muslim, or that's ridiculous. That's well, again in the Christian faith, like that's if you really were a real Christian, you read the Bible and you believe what it said, you wouldn't do that. That's not what Jesus would do. Like Jesus took in like people. Jesus famously, like, he was eating with tax collectors and sinners, as they said. And then the disciples came in. They were like, Jesus, what the flip you doing with these guys? And then Jesus was like, what did he say? The sick. No, it's not the healthy that need a doctor, but the sick. I guess that's a little bit different to what you're saying. But in terms of like, so the many different religions and stuff, and deciding which one's true. I think it's easy if you're looking out on it from a perspective of like your perspective, where you kind of open-minded and you're looking at everything. You can look at outward appearances, and you can say, these guys all believe in like God or whatever, or something like that. Why don't they all just get along? And I think that's a nice idea, but I do think that the reason there's differences is because there is differences within each religion, that fundamental differences once you start to look closer.
Yeah.
And I think it's like saying, if I was an alien from the fourth dimension, I came here and you go, oh look, solids, all solids are the same. Oh look, they're all kind of hard, they all must, they're all kind of similar. But then if you looked at solids, you got like metal, you got wood, you got like grass, you got like so many different kind of things. But from the outside perspective, it does kind of all look similar, but I think. So when you say, why doesn't everyone just get on? Yeah, I think it's kind of shallow to look at it that way.
Yeah. How what was the what was the big moment that kind of defined your faith? What made you the grass? What made you the wood? What made you specifically what you are?
What made me? Well,
what was the moment?
What was the moment? I know a lot of people, like, they tell their testimony, like their life story, and they can say, like, there was this moment, I saw a bright light from the sky, blah blah blah, I saw this happen and stuff. That never happened to me, personally. It was more just a slow getting older and kind of figuring stuff out for myself. I know, like, I don't know what you know about baptism, but like baptism is like that's the moment when you're saying to the world, look, I believe in Jesus. The baptism is a symbolism. You go under the water and it washes away your sins, and you come back out and you're a new person. It's a symbol to show what's going on in your heart. And I got baptized at the age of 11. The main reason being because my sister got baptized at the age of 12. And I was like, I'm going to beat her to the baptism. And but I don't think I really understood at that point really what Christianity was about.
You don't usually when you baptize, most people.
No. Were you baptized?
Yes.
Yeah. Was that what age?
Yeah, newborn.
Newborn. Yeah, you probably wouldn't understand what was going on then.
No.
But yeah. But so I don't think there wasn't a certain point when I realized. But there was definitely a point. So I was homeschooled, right? And I was a Christian, so homeschool Christian. So I kind of only ever known this way of life, like the Christian way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to school, and suddenly there was all these other different opinions that, like, I'd heard before, but I'd never really been confronted with.
And how did you take that?
How did I take that? It was very, I was kind of, that was because I'd never really thought about evidence for my faith at that point.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of accepted it. Like, yeah, it's true. Mum said it's true. Must be true. So I was kind of shaken. And that's when I started to do my research into, like, the Old Testament manuscripts and, the evidence for Jesus' death and resurrection. And I think I found enough evidence, I would say. That's when my faith became stronger, I think.
No, when I say these questions, by the way, I'm not looking to push back. I just want to understand more. It's like,
yeah,
one from there that I've got is, were you almost hoping? It's because, we're talking about mindset and spirituality. It's like, when you say you're looking for evidence, you start looking for evidence and you found it, and I can understand that probably a certain element of that came from a bit of worry once you're exposed to a lot of new things.
Yeah.
Was there a hope there when you were looking for that evidence? Were you hoping you would find enough to justify in your mind that that my foundation, my rock, isn't crumbling?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that I'd find stuff, and I think I did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think I did.
There's let's see what else is on here. See if there's anything else that can.
I was going to say something else, but it's gone from my mind.
Whenever it comes back, bring it up. Whenever it comes back. What would you say is enormous misconceptions about religion and sort of in a wider context?
Religion.
Yeah.
I think the biggest misconception is that religion is the opposite of, like, faith is the opposite of science.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of people, like, you hear all the, like, I remember going to school once and we were having an RE lecture, and the title was Faith versus Science, as if it was two opposite things. And if you're a Christian, it's just blind faith. I think that's the biggest misconception. And you can be a man of science or a man of faith. I think personally, science backs up my faith.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And I know some people who say, just believing is enough for me, and it's fine if you want to be like that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking out evidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I think, what I was going to say before is I've had, like, personal experiences in my life that I don't think I can explain any other way.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. I think there's just certain things that have happened that just make sense. There seems like there's a rhyme and a reason to things, which is kind of my experience, to be honest. Because if I talk about it briefly, I feel as if what you're saying there about these coincidences that just kind of happen, and it's odd. It's very strangely odd how these things happen, and sometimes they aren't even direct coincidences. It's kind of just like, it's almost as if things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I'm not very religious at all, in the sense of I grew up very much in your way, not as extreme, I'd imagine, with like being your path and homeschooled and everything. But I was a Christian child being brought up. I got as far as confirmation, and even then, I wasn't, in my heart of hearts, I don't think I've ever really said this openly, even in my heart of hearts, I wasn't too thrilled about being confirmed. I felt very much as if people were going to be, family would be very, very upset if I didn't. And I was also hardly confident enough back then to have any pushback. Now, if I was confronted with that, let's say it was 21, you got confirmed instead, I would 1000% push back now. I've got that confidence to do so. Back then I didn't. I was on the cusp. I was still like, I'll just stay in line, do as you're told.
Yeah.
It was extensive. There's two angles with this with me. With one, it's what you said, and it's very interesting that you say that, because it's almost like we believe in the same thing, but it's different, because I believe in stories, in the sense of when you're saying there's a sense of everything happens for a reason. I don't know if there's something out there, and if you ask me really, really sincerely to my face in private with a gun held to my throat, do you actually believe something's out there? My God honest answer would probably be no, and that's ironic. But my answer would probably be no. But there's also an element of this of like, I almost don't care. It's like, if there isn't, or there is, it's like that's what it is. It's not me saying, because I know that I think there's a term for it where it's like, I don't know, I've forgotten it, slipped my mind, but there's a term where it's like you're not sure. But
agnosticism.
Yes, that's
the one.
That's the one. It's but it's like, personally, I don't think there is, but it's from a perspective of, if there was, I'd more than certainly be open to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's to the point of like, I just think it's like, to me it's like to me, it's like an irrelevance, which I don't mean that in an offensive way. It's in a
Right.
sense of, I think there's an ending. With death, I'm not saying death is the end. I'm saying with death, there is an ending. I'm
Okay.
living a story. There is a beginning, there is a middle, there is an end. And
Right.
I can either be the person who is in charge of how that story ends, or I can let life just take its course. And where you would call coincidence, and where I would call it similarly, everything happening for a reason, that's how it feels to me. I feel as if I'm being taken on an arc, on a journey, and I don't know where that's going to take me. And I constantly am living in the future, thinking about where that story is going to end up, who I'm going to be at the end of it. When is that ending going to happen? Am I going to live a life that allows me to be around people, to have my own unit, to have a family, to live very old? Does my story end very, very young?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. These days, I don't. And it's not, I wouldn't say exciting, but it's just tantalizing. It's the concept of the story. It's everything's going to happen for a reason. But in reality, no matter how I see that, you probably see it in a similar way, except the storyteller is God.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, why do you think you believe that?
Why do I believe that?
Yeah.
I think actually the second thing, which I forgot to say, which answers your question, and I said this a lot with Jay, and there was pushback with there, but I understood the pushback because there was loopholes to this philosophy. But I'm a very neutral person, and I think part of that, when it got to confirmation age, where I started to slip away, especially once the network started and I wanted to become a public figure of union, I ended up reverting to this idea, not just kind of socially, but politically and religion as well, just becoming a very neutral force, just trying to stand for morals of right and wrong, and I think it was almost like, whereas you as an instinct, you were hoping to find evidence because that's what your rock was. My rock is to do the right thing, and to me, I know that you can be someone and still do the right thing, aka Christian. You can, but I want to try and stand for all people. So I took that, something that I was already a bit shaken on to begin with, because similarly to you, there's with coincidences, things happen that make me question. And when I start to pick apart to the point where I can have my doubts, which is what personally deep down I can believe, I naturally move away from it as a group. And there are many groups, but then there is me, a little island in the middle of it, who was welcome to visitors at any and all times. And I can also travel and visit anyone at any and all times. I don't have a tribe, but I can be a light in the sky. That's who I've chosen to be. It's not much, but it's honest work. And that's the path that I've chosen. And I like that. And I know it sounds very basic and vanilla and boring, but it's a sense of, it means that I can constantly, it's like liquid, I can constantly just flow and move.
I find that interesting. So for me, I think I would say I have a similar outlook on life, where I'm trying to be basically as unselfish as I can be, and as much benefit to other people as I can be in life. That's my goal, and I think and to follow morals basically. And for me, the way that I know if I'm on the right track is I get them from the Bible. So my morals, because I think people's morals can shift and change. Because if you go to different cultures, they think like what's it called? Arranged marriages is fine and stuff. And here we're like, what? That's terrible, arranged marriage. So I think, and then if you go back 100 years, people thought gay people were evil, and now people think gay people are great. So I think people's morals can shift and change. So for me, the way that I know I'm doing the right thing is if I'm following the laws laid out in the Bible, because I think God wrote those laws, and I think that's a fixed thing that we can always go back to for all of history. So I'm interested to see where you get your morals from. No, I'm not trying to criticize. I'm just interested.
I've I find that it's it seems like an enormous, not only cop-out, but it seems like a massively cheap answer to say that media was a big part of it. I'm not saying that media is my god, but it's the area that I operate in, and I grew up with these characters, and I'm not saying, and I certainly don't want to say Bond, you know, his misogynist dinosaur self, but I'm saying to certain people, like I said, yeah, I literally said last week that the Craig's Bond, like Cap, for example, were like massive things for me growing up.
Yeah.
But it's that, like, when you look at it, it's like, is Captain America a real thing? No.
I don't think so.
Can at least we don't think. But it's like, what these heroes and what these ideals are meant to live up to people, especially children, is their ideals for who we can be. And when you grow into the adult world, you realize it's not as realistic as you once thought it was, and it's hard to be good sometimes. But that's if I was to throw it out there, because it's from a psychological child perspective, it does make sense. I know it seems like a really cheap answer, but it's almost as if humans have made this idealist idea to be our better selves, and through consumption. That is, I think, almost who I've become. I'm not saying I'm Captain America.
Yeah.
I'm saying I think it's stuck.
Yeah.
I know I'm not. There came a certain age when I realised I wasn't a superhero. But once you get to that 15, 16 and you really start to grow up, I think a bit of it stays behind.
It's interesting how you say Bond is a misogynistic, whatever you said.
Older iterations, anyway. Yeah.
It's funny though, because like 50 years ago, there would have been people like you, and they would look at Bond and be like, "Oh yeah, Bond, he's the best." They wouldn't think he was misogynistic, because that's like the morals of the time.
Yeah.
And then so now we've got different morals and stuff, and it's great. It's great that you see these role models and stuff, and I think it's basically the same as what I believe.
Yeah.
Whereby I look to Jesus as the role model for life, and he's like the perfect person, that you live up to. And I think Jesus is pretty good, to be honest, because I don't think
he's a cool dude.
I mean, yeah, you can be a Buddhist or a Muslim, or you can be anything from anywhere. Pretty much everyone agrees. Yeah, Jesus, he was a pretty solid dude, don't you think? He was pretty cool, and I think that's what's so good about Jesus, is where James Bond kind of fades with the time, because he's a creation of men, I think, and those morals change over time, and I think Jesus is a fixed thing who will always be good.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
But then I'll have one more question to follow this, but the kind of the thing I would say in terms of this, what you're saying, the timeless quality about it is that at the same time, Cap, Bond, Superman, throw them in there while I'm at it, right? They aren't just, I wouldn't say what they represent. It's almost as if they're a vehicle. So these morals that I talk about, the right and wrong and everything like that, they're a vehicle for it. These characters aren't timeless. I agree with you. They aren't timeless. In 100 years, people might actually forget Superman exists. In 100 years from now, if they stopped doing media on him, they'd forget he existed.
No, you're not going to forget Superman.
Hell, maybe even superheroes in general have become ancient myth, right?
No, wait, maybe they'll become a religion one day, 2,000 years from now.
Yeah, Batman. But it's what they stand for. The vehicle that have pushed, their characters that are vehicles that have pushed these morals. The morals are timeless, in the sense of just the basic. There's some of them that are a bit more complex and a bit more grey rather than black and white.
Yeah.
But the whole good, do the right thing, kindness, morality, bravery, all of it is, these things are unwavering. You look for all of time, and even soldiers who did horrific things in the name of their generals, hundreds of years. Bravery in doing things, those individual attributes, they are timelessly good. Doing something with bravery, even terrible, you look at it in isolation, it's a good trait. These are traits that are timeless and good if you apply them in the right ways. And that's it. So in a way, I think we're both bound to believe in timeless things for the betterment of people around us.
Mm-hmm.
So the last question I would then lead on to from there is, in modern society, these things, at least from my standpoint, is even though religions are clashing left, right and centre, I think religion as a whole, and what I've at least noticed, even from a Christian point of view, we're looking at Christianity specifically, I think I have the slightest suspicion that things are actually starting to slip, and faith maybe isn't as strong as it was 100 years ago, 50, hell 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's not, and I think there's a change that's starting to happen, and I want to know, not even in a promoting sense, but in a sense of, why would you assume that to be? Like first of all, do you feel that's happening? Because at least from my point of view, I feel like it is. That's not just my experience. I feel a lot of people are just feeling very disheartened, or almost at least a crisis of faith, if not completely lost it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is right now?
Well, that's interesting because, yeah, if you look at the surveys, I think there's one that's like in 2011, the country was 53% Christian, and 2024 it was 49 or something. So it's 48, I think. So Christianity has dipped below. It's not the majority anymore. It's going down. And I think cultural Christianity in the UK is definitely going down, whereby people say they're Christians and like live like Christians, but they might not actually believe it.
Yeah.
But from my experience as a Christian, I think if a church is preaching from the Bible and they're preaching the gospel, which is Jesus' forgiveness of sins, if they're really honestly preaching the Bible, I haven't seen a single church that does that isn't thriving, personally, from my experience. And I think the churches that are kind of on the decline are the ones that are looking around and being like, oh, maybe all religions are the same, maybe we should do this, try and incorporate some new ideas, blah, blah, blah. I think the Christians, the churches that are failing are the ones that are kind of faltering in their belief, which is interesting.
Do you know think it's a demographic thing as well, though? Because I've also found that, what I mean is I also think it's a lot of older people.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, because I mean, by it's not nice to think about, but by just the law of the world, those older people will not always be in them pews.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. I'm seeing less and less younger people invested. So that's why I'm really seeing there's a decline, because in the long run, that's going to hurt things a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's interesting, because I think everything in the world goes through phases and stages. So at the moment, Christianity is doing this. But I think I have confidence that sometime, maybe, 50 years from now, it's going to come back. It's happened in many countries, Russia used to be entirely atheistic. It was kind of forced by the communist regime, and then when communism went away, people were so desperate for religion, people would smuggle in Bibles in, even though they'd get killed if they did. And now it's like 90% Orthodox Christianity, whatever. So I think, but my personal opinion is that the human soul needs a connection to something higher. And I personally think that's because that's how we were made.
Yeah. So
I don't think religion is ever gonna go away, because I think that's how people function.
It's like, as a closing note, it's like you would say it's almost like energy. It can't be removed or destroyed. It just changes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Are you ready for today's game?
Game? Oh, hell yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, heck yeah.
Right.
Christian.
What does religion mean to you? Quiz. Let's go.
Hooray.
Cool. We've got 5 questions for this.
Fun.
I believe. Cool. We have 5 questions today. Right. Let's get right into it. Cool. First of all, how would you define religion on your own words? A belief system about a higher power. B, a set of traditions and practices. C, a personal journey of faith and meaning. Or D, all of the above.
Ooh. Is there a right and wrong answer for this, or is this my opinion?
It's well, look, that's the whole thing about religion. It's
opinion.
It's perspective. It's opinion.
Ow. I would say personally for me, I'm just gonna rank them. I think that'd be easiest. So I would put at the bottom B, a set of Christian traditions and practices. I think that's the worst one because you can do all the stuff and practice all the things, but as Jesus himself said, if you do that, you can be like a cup which is clean on the outside but dirty on the inside, whereby you do all the right things, but in the inside you are dirty and you don't actually really care about what you're doing. Then I would put I'm gonna say A and C tied actually, because those two, yeah, pretty good. Belief system, that's pretty essential to religion, about higher power, and personal journey of faith and meaning. Yeah, it's kind of what it is, isn't it? So
I know, I'd agree with you actually on that last point. Yeah,
awesome,
cool.
There we go.
Right, number 2. What role do you think religion plays in society? A, it provides moral guidance. B, it brings communities together. C, it influences laws and culture. Or D, all of the above.
Dang, I would have to say D, all of the above on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely brings communities together. You can see how the English culture is becoming more individualistic, I think. And I don't think that's a very good thing. I think you need something to bring people together. I think the church it's not the main purpose of the church, but it's a very good function of the church. Or, religious things. They bring people together, which is good.
Yeah.
Moral guidance, yeah, because you look at cultures, other cultures where they've gotten rid of Christianity, like communist countries and stuff, and their human rights, on the whole, are not that great.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally, I think religion, as much as you might not like it, and as much as it might have some questionable things in there, I think it's very important for keeping people on the moral path.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 3. Do you think someone can be spiritual without being religious?
Ooh,
well, this is a very interesting one actually, because I think in a way with what I've said today, I think this kind of applies.
Interesting.
A, yes, spirituality is personal. B, no, religion and spirituality go hand in hand. C, it depends on the person's beliefs.
I think everybody is spiritual, because I think God made us to be spiritual beings. So I was talking to someone just the other day from Singapore, and she was saying, like, she can see ghosts and stuff, and she can, she's got the ability to she knows people with the ability to heal people with their hands, and all sorts of weird things like that, and cast out demons. And I believe in all those things, and I'm not going to say she's not spiritual, even though she's not Christian. So, but I think everybody has that ability within them, the spiritual, whether they believe it or not. I think people are spiritual beings. So yes, you can be spiritual without being religious, 100%.
Wonderful. Yeah. Right, number 4. How important is religion in your daily life? A, very important. It shapes my values and actions. B, somewhat important. I follow some traditions. Or C, not important. I don't practice any religion. D, I'm still exploring my beliefs.
I'm going to say C on that one. Not really. I would say very important to my life. I think it gives me my main purpose in life, religion, which is to be a light to the world, be salt and light, as they say. And ultimately, I think to point people towards Jesus, because I'm supposed to reflect Jesus, and Jesus is the perfect person. So if I wasn't doing that, I don't know what I'd be doing. Probably not anything very good.
Cool. Number 5. Last but not least, what do you think is the most meaningful aspect of religion? A, faith in a higher power. B, connection with others. C, personal growth and reflection. Or D, cultural and historical significance.
Most meaningful aspect. I think least important, I'm going to say cultural and historical significance, because again, that's kind of just superficial looks of things. And churches, they're pretty nice, but if you got rid of all the churches, it'd be alright. I would say faith in a higher power. That's pretty good. Most meaningful aspect. I think the most meaningful aspect for me is connection to God. I think being a Christian means that you have a connection to the higher power.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what I would do without that connection, without the ability to pray and have a direction in life, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
And that should be it. Yep, Finn. So
Finn.
the
Finn
closing note for me would be, I really like what you said.
Thanks. I think I was a bit all over the place.
No, it's fine. About 2 minutes ago, so when you were like, it's what it's like to light up the world. It's what your purpose. Because in reality, because the thing is that that's exactly how I see it too. I've just found it a different way. So it's almost as if it's certainly a path to the top of the hill. That's the high road and the hard one.
Yeah.
I really, it's a new outlook I found today out of that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But it's been lovely chatting, Jacob. Thank you very much.
Been very nice.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
I'm trying to turn off the mic.
See you next time.
But brilliant. So that will just about do it. If you would like to see Jacob's effort in animation with the network with Green Hill Zone, it will be currently slated to be coming out on the network main channel this September. That will just about do it for today on the BWN Podcast. Thank you, Jacob, very, very much. And I will see you soon. I'll see you next week. I won't unveil them just yet. We know who the next week's guest is going to be because I'm going to plan to record it right now. But I will see you next time on the BWN Podcast. See you next time, guys. From myself and Jacob, goodbye.